Senator Booker. Senator Budd.
Thank you, Chair. Administrator, thanks for being here. I want to follow up with Ranking Member Ernst's questions. I was listening intently, and the answers weren't quite clear to me. And here's what I'm referring to. In the President's fiscal year 25 budget, it seems that the SBA is looking to revitalize an old authority. Now, this is an authority that, in your answer that you said you had, but revitalize that authority that hasn't been used since 1998, and to get back into direct lending to businesses to make small dollar loans on a broad basis. So if you could help me understand this clearly, does the SBA intend to stand up this initiative and begin issuing direct loans before fiscal year 2025?
Thank you for the clarification, because what I did reference was that budget request, if given the tools to be able to properly implement direct lending, then we would be able to do that. Currently, as stands, we are not pursuing a direct lending program. But however, with the fiscal year 25 budget,
thank you. How would you get those tools?
The budget allows for SBA to charge the appropriate fees to make this a zero subsidy program.
Do you intend to get those tools?
Correct. Well, they're proposed in the President's budget.
So it sounds like the budget proposes the tools, and if you had those tools,
Correct.
then you would begin direct
That's
lending.
correct. Yes, correct.
So it sounds like you will begin direct lending.
If the Congress moves forward with the budget and the proposal, yes, correct. In the fiscal 25 budget would create that authority. Thank you.
So I understand that the SBA will use an interest rate increase to fund the program, an interest rate increase to fund the program. What funds will you use to start the program? So interest rates, an increase there will fund it. What would you use to start the program?
The programs, we have a very strong unified lending platform. The SBA has invested heavily in technology to shore up its programs at the SBA following the scale of the COVID pandemic, not only with the technology tools to be able to pre-screen for fraud and eligibility across our 7A and 504 programs today, but in addition, we have a strong lending platform that's used in our disaster program. So we would be well positioned to be able to administer this direct lending program if given the authority and tools to be able to charge the appropriate fees for zero subsidy impact on the taxpayer.
Thank you. It's interesting to me that after SBA substantially reorganized the 7A program, which is still continuing to pose challenges for 7A lenders, the administration now wants to get back into direct lending, assuming you get these tools, which it sounds like you will. So in this case, it would be the lender, the underwriter, and the guarantor, which puts the agency in direct competition with the private sector. And you mentioned disaster, right? I'm not sure if that's a great example to support your case, because we look at EIDL or EIDL program to see how woefully incompetent the SBA is at facilitating lending. So, Administrator, where did the SBA gain the confidence that it can be a good steward of taxpayer dollars and minimize losses below or even at par with industry standards?
I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to on the COVID EIDL, but presumably you might be talking about the fraud. Note that the protections that are on all of our disaster EIDL programs were stripped away. Those protections were removed in 2020. That's why you had the huge onset of fraud early on in the 9 months operating in 2020. Those are institutional controls that we've always had in place across our disaster program. So I would say that the COVID EIDL program is a very unique portfolio for the agency. Normally, we're able to collect tax documents and check and clear for fraud and eligibility.
Thank you, Administrator. You mentioned fraud to the tune of $200 billion worth of fraud. At the same time that SBA is loosening underwriting standards in this 7A program and standing up its own direct loan program, very concerning. SBA has also announced that ILP loans, or intermediary lending pilot program, 7A loans and 504 loans, can now all be given to businesses associated with people who have been indicted or are currently on probation or parole for financial crimes, fraud, and violent crimes. So let me say again that SBA will now give government-backed, taxpayer-funded loans to businesses associated with fraud and financial crimes. And all this after SBA dispersed an estimated, as I mentioned a moment ago, $200 billion in fraudulent loans during the COVID-19 pandemic. So, Administrator, given the SBA's recent track record in its various loan programs, do you believe now is the appropriate time to provide government-backed loans to known frauds and financial criminals?
The SBA maintains its programs to control for the do not pay list. So if they've committed fraud against the government, taking a PPP or idle fraudulently, they are banned from federal programs, VA, SBA, you name it. So those individuals would not be allowed into the program. So we feel strongly that if you've served your time, you have a second chance in this country if you're innocent until convicted and proven guilty. So we want to make sure that we create pathways to entrepreneurship and to strengthening communities around this country.
Thank you. I yield.
Senator Cardin.
Thank